But when you're saying you're Hamas, when you're praising Hamas, when you're praising Hezbollah, when you're saying you're going to globalize the Intifada.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
I'm going to finish my point. It means you're pro-terrorist.
You're on CNN. These are your friends. These are the people that you're now throwing down with. You have no choice. This is the club that you're in. Jonah Goldberg calls himself a conservative. In fact, Jonah Goldberg and his friends, Stephen Hayes, Bill Crystal, David French, they consider themselves the last real true conservatives that are out there. You know, the real conservatives who hate Donald Trump. The real conservatives who tried to keep Donald Trump from being president last time and are trying to keep him from being president this time. You know, the real conservatives who would rather have Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden as president. Yeah, those guys. Well, Jonah Goldberg, by being never Trump, has been able to maintain a very high profile because now, well, TV networks and cable news networks, they love having him on the air. They can claim they have a conservative Republican on, but he's still going to beat up on Trump. Those are the Republicans they love. They're the only ones that they actually hire. And he works for CNN right now. Jonah Goldberg was on talking about Israel, talking about the Hamas protests, the pro-Hamas protests on college campuses. And watch what happens when he's making a pretty basic fundamental point about these protests and about how they are pro-Hamas. Watch him get interrupted. Watch his face. Watch his reaction when he starts to realize who his new friends are.
Look, I think the anti-Semitism stuff, particularly Passover, is a big issue. It's a legitimate issue to talk about. It's a serious issue. And I think there's a lot of anti-Semitic stuff going on out there. But when you're saying you're Hamas, when you're praising Hamas, when you're praising Hezbollah, when you're saying you're going to globalize the Intifada.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
I'm going to finish my point. It means you're pro-terrorist. If you are celebrating Hamas, you're a pro-terrorist.
I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying,
that's my point.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there are selective quotes that are being taken, often not from students themselves. In the encampments in Colombia, they have said this. There are Jewish students who are actually part of this. And they are being used to say, wait, let me just.
You didn't let me finish my point.
No, that's true. But and just would say more broadly, when people are calling for action, like Representative Gottheimer, what are they actually calling for? You've already had police go on.
If the people in those encampments, whether they're Columbia students or not, if the university can clear them from that encampment, then that is something the university can do.
But they've already put. Let me just say how we got here. Columbia chose to bring police to clear the encampment. That inflamed the situation to where now you're seeing these protests spread to Yale, to New York University, and beyond. Many people have said that the action of bringing police into a group of people who are already feeling that they are sort of representative of the oppressed, who are inspired by what happened with George Floyd in 2020 and seeing what is happening in Gaza, that has only really acted as a catalyst here. And so I wonder at the wisdom of bringing in the armed police into what is essentially a university campus. To try and resolve
I question
this.
the wisdom of having a double standard that says it's okay to shout hateful pro-terrorist things at Jews, but you have to have
No one
total.
is endorsing that.
A lot of people are endorsing that. A lot of people aren't condemning it. Yeah, a lot of people aren't condemning it. And I agree with you. Universities and the Democratic Party and the left have a huge problem trying to figure out how to cut this Gordian knot that they've created for themselves. But that doesn't mean I have to sort of condone or not call out. I got a lot of scars from calling out horrible statements on the right over the last 10 years. I call out anti-Semitism and bigotry all the time on the right.
Of course.
I don't hear a lot of that from sort of squad adjacent type people calling out this stuff on the left.
So listen, I set this up by sort of beating up on Jonah Goldberg, and well, he deserves it, but he did a great job there. He did. And there's a moment, I want to show you this little moment here while this woman look at Jonah's face. The old meme from I think it was from Arrested Development, where you do the slow close-up. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Right? This is what Jonah Goldberg is dealing with right now. Look at Jonah Goldberg evaluating his life choices over the last 8 years. It's like, how the hell did I get here? Where I used to be a Fox News all-star on Special Report. And I used to spend most of my time beating up on liberal Democrats. The man wrote liberal fascism. He knows this story. He knows exactly what this is about. But he threw down with Never Trump. He decided he couldn't turn back. Never Trump means never Trump, which means you've got to embrace anybody who is running against Donald Trump. You must, even if it's Hillary Clinton, even if it's Joe Biden. And so here he is, wondering into himself, his inner monologue. How the hell did I get here? Where I have to actually debate the fundamentals of supporting Hamas and supporting terrorists and screaming anti-Semitic slogans, genocidal slogans at innocent Jewish students who were just trying to attend their class at Columbia. And I've got to explain myself. I'm on the defensive here. Well, I'll tell you how you got there, Jonah. You're on CNN. These are your friends. These are the people that you're now throwing down with. You have no choice. This is the club that you're in. And they're never going to like you, by the way. They'll use you when you serve a purpose. And I do love this woman who is making excuses for the protesters who are supporting Hamas and chanting Hamas forever. We are Hamas. She said, oh, they're taking things out of context and just selective things. No. The whole group is chanting stuff like that. They're chanting how they want 1,000 October 7ths. And she's, of course, a journalist and podcast host for the New York Times, because they're just way too smart to get dragged down into this dogma of, it's much more of a gray area issue. It's not so black and white. The issue of Israel's existence in the anti-Semitism that we see. Anti-Semitism is not new. It's been around for a long time. And one of the things you do when you're an anti-Semite is you dehumanize Jewish people. And see, as soon as you dehumanize them and you lump them all into one group, the Jews or the Zionists, as soon as you dehumanize them like that, you can say whatever you want about them. It doesn't matter. They don't have rights. They don't have dignity. They don't deserve respect. That's how this works. And here's Jonah Goldberg, who last I checked is Jewish, who's sort of realizing what club he's in now. And you caught that very end. I caught a lot of flack, he says, for calling out anti-Semitism on the right. Why?
But you have to have
No
total.
one's endorsing that.
A lot of people are endorsing that. A lot of people aren't condemning it. Yeah, a lot of people aren't condemning it. And I agree with you. Universities and the Democratic Party and the left have a huge problem trying to figure out how to cut this Gordian knot that they've created for themselves. But that doesn't mean I have to sort of condone or not call out. I got a lot of scars from calling out horrible statements on the right over the last 10 years. I call out anti-Semitism and bigotry all the time on the right.
Of course.
I don't hear a lot of that from sort of squad adjacent type people calling out this stuff on the left.
No, you don't, because they are anti-Semites and they're the real thing. They're the genuine article. They really are genocidal. They do want Israel wiped off the map. They say so themselves, Jonah. And here's the thing. All of those scars that you have, scars, please tell me. You're making plenty of money at the Dispatch and at CNN, pal. All right. The scars that you have from calling out horrible statements on the right, I would love to hear from you, Jonah, if you could. And again, I think you did a great job here. And I think that there's a chance to bring it back into the fold. I think you're actually figuring out who you've thrown down with and what the end result really is. There's something about in October 7th terror attacks and the fallout that we're seeing over the last 6 months that can clarify issues for people. This is a clarifying moment, Jonah. And I would love to challenge you. All those horrible anti-Semitic statements that you claim you called out and the scars you have to show for them from the right. Can you show me anything, and I mean anything, that is as equivalent to what you see right now on college campuses in city streets, or members of Congress, Democrats in the House of Representatives like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jamal Bowman, or the equivocation that you saw from the president, sort of wanting to understand, you got to put yourself in Hamas's place to understand where they're coming from. Compare this president, who you supported because you hate Trump so much, because so much of your ego and narcissism was invested in stopping Trump. And suddenly when the American people didn't listen to you, they ignored you, they didn't take your advice, and they voted for Trump. You were so personally offended by that you decided to just completely chuck out everything you stood for before and throw down with liberal Democrats because that was more important. He really thought that Trump being president and being the leader of the conservative movement and Republican Party in America was more dangerous than Hillary Clinton being president. So now that you've seen that, compare one of those hateful things that you claim happened from the right over the last 10 years and show me if it is anywhere near equal what you're seeing from the Hamas celebrations right now in America. And even most importantly, compare Joe Biden's policy toward the state of Israel and his policy toward Jewish Americans versus Donald Trump's policy. I would love for you to actually reconcile that. But I think that it would create way too much discomfort. Way too much. And frankly, listen, you got a good gig. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, it pays the bills. I get it. But poor Jonah, he can't win for losing. These are his new friends. Cenk Uygur, he does the Young Turks, which I believe is like named after a terror groups from Turkey, right? Anyway, excuse me. He took to Twitter after that appearance. A lot of people on TV, like Jonah Goldberg just did on CNN, are calling peace protesters pro-terrorist. Yeah, the 1990s called and want your bullshit propaganda back. The side that has slaughtered 25,000 innocent women and children are not the terrorists, but the people trying to protect innocent civilians are. Oh, so Hamas is trying to protect innocent civilians? Is interesting. And I wish Jonah had replied. I'll show you Jonah's reply in a moment. If Hamas would like to protect 25,000 innocent women and children in Gaza, if that's their main goal, then they should do two things, and it'll happen immediately. Release all the hostages and surrender. But as long as you have tunnels of terror and rockets that you blast into the region, you're not protecting anyone. All right. The hacks on TV are so old and tired, no one believes your bullshit anymore. Jonah saw this and had to reply because, well, he's Jonah Goldberg, and it's Twitter after all. He says, when you celebrate Hamas's terror attacks, when you wave a Hezbollah flag, when you cheer the idea of more October 7th, you are objectively pro-terrorist. And when you deny this, Cenk, you are too. Prove me wrong. Denounce Hezbollah and Hamas unequivocally. Jonah is right. I remind you, he wrote the book called Liberal Fascism. Jonah's right, and Jonah knows this. Jonah knows this because he literally did write the book Liberal Fascism. It's a great book. I wish he would read it now and again so he could recognize who he's sitting on these panels with, the people in the green room who like him because he's one of the good conservatives. The ones that we can steamroll, the ones that we can use to criticize. So here's how it works in cable news. They get a panel of 7 liberal Democrats who all attack Trump and the people who vote for and support Trump. And then they turn to the conservative, and the conservative is already set up to do the exact same thing. And then they can say, well, see, even a conservative like Jonah Goldberg agrees with us. And that's the role Jonah plays now. But Jonah gets it. By the way, this last line, prove me wrong, denounce Hezbollah and Hamas unequivocally. So Cenk Uygur finished the conversation by doing this. I denounce Hamas and Hezbollah. Do you denounce Israel, which has killed 30 times the number of innocent civilians as Hamas? Or are you still pretending the IDF is the most incompetent military in the world and didn't intend to kill 25,000 women and children? I don't think Cenk understands what the word unequivocally means. Jonah specifically said, denounce Hezbollah and Hamas unequivocally. And then he immediately denounced Hamas and Hezbollah with a gigantic equivocation. Which it sort of proves the point. One other thing, because I keep hearing this over and over again. 25,000 women and children, 25,000 women and children, 25,000 women and children. Where are we getting these numbers? We're getting them from health officials in the area. Really? Which health officials in the area? Well, from the Gaza Ministry of Health. The Gaza Ministry of Health. Wait a second. What's the government entity that runs Gaza? That would be Hamas. Oh, so 25,000. So the numbers of casualties you're getting right now from the war are literally coming from Hamas, from the terrorists. And we're supposed to believe that number? Well, let's ask another one of Jonah Goldberg's friends, Nancy Pelosi.
The overwhelming. We don't know how many people have died. We have the Hamas report. Let's accept that it's tens of thousands. 10 would be too many, but tens of thousands.
35,000 seems to be the number at the moment.
I know that's what it said, and let's accept that it's too many, whatever it is.
By the way, I do love the reboot of Golden Girls. It's not quite as fun as I expected, but I'm sure they'll iron out the kinks. It's going to be a hoot eventually. There you go, Jonah. This is the woman who you're thrown down with. We don't know how many have been killed. We have Hamas's number. Let's just accept that. And then was that Nina Totenberg? Whew. Do they go to the same hairdresser, by the way? They literally have the same hair. Is this just like an elderly woman in DC thing? 35,000 is the number we've got. Oh, let's just go with that then. Where'd you get that number? Hamas. Okay. Jonah, come on back to us, babe. We got your back. It's going to be all right. I mean, we'll give you a hard time, but it'll be cool. We're buds, right? That's what dudes do. It's how fellas operate. We'll have a beer and everything's going to be fine. I like your dogs. I really do.